A version of the 2022 Jackson State football schedule has been leaked, and we're going to talk about it, whether we like it, love it, hate it, all of that, right after the bumper. Stay tuned. What is up, everybody? What is up, everybody? My name is JeffLightsYJr. Here with the Black Boss channel and Victory Formation. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe, and the notification bell because we upload every single day. Now, the J-Hat has leaked their version of the Jackson State 2022 football schedule. And let's dive right into it so we don't keep you waiting. Let me go ahead and share my screen, and we'll just talk about it. See what you guys think about it. See what's going on. See what you're saying. So this was put out by the J-Hat, this Twitter account, and I can tell you right now that this is probably the 2022 schedule. At the time of this, broadcast, the Jackson State football team hasn't released their schedule. They hadn't put anything out on their website, official Twitter, all that stuff. But the J-Hat comes up with this, and the thing is, there's only really one game that can be different from this. So the J-Hat, all the other games we already knew was taking place. And what I mean by that is how the SWAC works. We talked about this before. They play the same teams 2 years in a row. So you just flip. So the FAMU, the Orange Blossom Classic, was already scheduled. We knew about UAPB and Grambling because UAPB is the SWAC Classic, and then Grambling's already released their schedule. So we knew they were on there. They played Valley, Bama State, Bethune-Cookman, Southern, TSU, or as far as Texas Southern, Alabama A&M, and Alcorn last year. Alcorn's a permanent, so we know they're on the schedule. And all those other teams are a part of the deal. They play the same schedule, you just flip it year and year. So we knew all of that already. There's only one game that we didn't know about, and that would be the lone non-conference game, or the non-conference game that isn't a SWAC team. And that looks to be D2 school Lane College, HBCU Division II school Lane College. But let me make this bigger so you guys can see it. Oh, not me bigger. Make the schedule bigger. And like I said, you got FAMU. You have UAPB in the SWAC Classic on September 10th. Grambling on September 17th in the W.C. Gordon Classic. That'll be at Jackson State. That's technically a non-conference game. You also have Mississippi Valley. You got Lane College for homecoming. Alabama State, at Bethune-Cookman down in Florida. Southern. And then Texas Southern, Alabama A&M, and Alcorn before you head to the SWAC Classic, or potentially head to the SWAC Classic on December 3rd. Now, how are we feeling about this? I want everybody to leave in the chat. I want everybody to leave in the comments. How do we feel about JSU's schedule? How do we like it? Do we love it? Do we hate it? This is interesting. I'm getting some notifications on Twitter. Might want to check the date on the Orange Blossom Classic. Has it listed for Sunday, September. Okay, so yeah. So the Orange Blossom Classic, we know that's taking place. It's going to be on Saturday. This schedule has it on Sunday, but that's like minute, very minuscule. I mean, the schedule, like I said, I could have pretty much predicted this once the SWAC Classic came about. The UAPB game we knew was going to be on the schedule. Once Grambling put out their schedule, we knew they had scheduled Jackson State in a non-conference game that'll take place at Jackson State, and now they're calling that the W.C. Gordon Classic, so that's really, really cool. So we knew those, and so Jackson State only had really three games to play with outside of their SWAC schedule, and so they swapped out Tennessee State. We know the whole big deal with the Southern Heritage Classic, how they pulled out, et cetera, et cetera. They removed Tennessee State, they removed UL Monroe, and they removed Delta State for Grambling, UAPB, and Lane. And in that kind of swap, I'm not mad at that. I don't mind having more SWAC games and swapping out teams. Now, I would love for them to play Tennessee State. Don't get it twisted. I'd love to see Coach Prime versus Coach George. I love to see the Southern Heritage Classic. I love to see that. I love the atmosphere, all of that goes on. But swapping out TSU, Delta State, and UL Monroe for two SWAC teams in Lane College, another HBCU, I'm not mad at. I can't be mad at that. Now, would I rather them have taken out Lane College and played a UL Monroe, the only team that beat Jackson State during the regular season? Abso-freaking-lutely. But of course, you guys have let me know, like, yo, UL Monroe's schedule has been set. They'll play Jackson State again in 2024, and we know that they don't want to come to Jackson. And I can understand that completely because most schools make their schedules, especially the non-conference games, they have contracts for those non-conference games years in advance. Like, so 2, 3, 4 years down the line. Hell, even Jackson State, as we know, has 3 non-conference games or non-conference games. They just happen to be SWAC teams that'll schedule for the next 3 years. So Southern, we know, will be on the schedule in 23 and 24 playing as a non-conference. That's already been scheduled. UAPB will be played this year as a non-conference game. That's currently on the schedule. So this is what a lot of schools across the country do. And we know Jackson State is obligated to play their 8 conference games. So the schedule wasn't that hard because they play the same conference teams, every 2 years. They just swap them home and home. So if they played these teams at the SWAC games at home last year, they'll play those same SWAC schools on the road next year. And then this year. And then next year, they'll have their 8 SWAC games. The ones they play at home in 23, they'll play on the road in 24. And the ones they played on the road in 23, they'll play at home in 24. So that's easy way to figure out, kind of get the meat of the schedule, figuring that out. That's easy way to do that. And so they really only had 3 games to play with. And instead of Tennessee State and Southern Heritage Classic, instead of trying to avenge yourselves with UL Monroe, and instead of playing Delta State, you get Pine Bluff, you get Grambling, and you get Lane College. I can't be mad at that. Now, the problem that I can't be mad at it at all, and I understand that the scheduling and teams are scheduling years in advance. I just don't like, now, albeit if you're going to play a D2 school, it's cool that it's a HBCU, but I'm not a fan of Jackson State playing D2 schools anymore. Your program is it's held in too high of a regard. You're getting too good of a player. Now, Division I, Power 5, Alabama, and them, they play FCS schools all the time. Hell, we see HBCU schools on the Clemsons of the worlds. And so I can't just be super critical on that because those programs do it too. Like those programs, especially when they have when Alabama's going in to play LSU or something, they'll schedule a mediocre team ahead of a really, really big game, or a mediocre team early in non-conference play, or even late in conference play. We seen Prairie View play Texas A&M at the end of the season last year. So I'm not going to be super harsh and super critical on that, but I would love for Jackson State, even if it's just like a team like UL Monroe. Now, someone was in my mention, shout out to you, in my mentions telling me that they sent an invite to Southern Miss and Southern Miss declined. And that could very well be true because the more that Jackson State becomes a name, the better of players that Jackson State gets, it's going to be hard for them to schedule teams. It's going to be hard because in those teams' mind, they have nothing to gain. They beat Jackson State. They're supposed to because they're an FBS program. They're supposed to be getting better recruits. They're supposed to be doing X, Y, and Z. Their coach is Deion Sanders, who technically hasn't been coaching in college for a long time. Our coach is probably some dude that's been coaching for 30 years. We're supposed to beat them. If we lose, you lost to Jackson State. You lost in a game that's technically a money game. You lost to an FCS program. As good of an FCS program as Jackson State are, at the end of the day, they are still an FCS program. And coaches don't like FCS losses on their record, especially if you're an FBS program. If you're FBS, especially if you're a Power 5, you don't want to lose to no school that's not even FBS. You don't want to lose to, damn it, just be an HBCU. You don't want to lose to a school like Jackson State that has all the cameras, that has all the notoriety, and that's going to blow this up if they beat your team. So it's going to be hard for them to schedule schools. Gonzaga had this same problem for years. Appalachian State for years had the same problem until they moved up to FBS. So I understand. But I also can understand the frustration from fans that see these D2 schools and that want to see their guys go against the best outside of the HBC world. You love to see your guys go against these other HBCUs because it's a lot of classics, it's a lot of rivalry, a lot of history there. But you also want to see them go against some talent that's supposed to be better than them, that's supposed to be above them, and prove that they're worthy to compete against FBS programs, to compete against Power 5 programs potentially, to compete against these other schools that are supposed to be bigger, better, stronger, faster, or whatever. So I see both sides of the coin. I'm just ready for the season. It's like football seasons all year round because of the way Jackson State recruits, the way these other HBCU programs in the SWAC recruit, whether it's FAMU, Alabama A&M, Grambling. Like this is becoming an all year round thing, and this is super, super dope to watch. But this is the leaked JSU schedule at the time of this recording, at the time of this broadcast. This schedule wasn't made official, but this is the unofficial schedule. You got FAMU, Pine Bluff, Grambling, Valley, Lane College, Alabama State, Bethune-Cookman, Southern, Texas Southern, Alabama A&M, and Alcorn. And then if you handle your business like JSU fans looking at this as whatever and 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 11 and 0. And 11 and 0 headed into a SWAC championship where they hope to end the SWAC season or the regular season undefeated, going back to Atlanta and avenging themselves in the Celebration Bowl. Let me know your thoughts on the JSU schedule. Let me know your thoughts on Jackson State's 2022 unofficial. This is the unofficial schedule. So if something comes out and it's different, then we'll own up to it and we'll make a revised video. But this is the unofficial 2022 schedule. Let me know your thoughts. Hit that thumbs up button. My name is JeffLightsyJr with the Black Boss channel. Subscribe to the Black Boss channel. You can also follow me on Instagram and Twitter at JLightsy7, on Instagram and Twitter at JLightsy7. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you next time. Peace.